Nobody inside the stadium truly grasped how overwhelming the noise was, not even the players who had lived inside that chaos for years. Tens of thousands of fans were screaming, chanting, stomping, creating a thunderstorm of sound that bounced off every wall and shook the ground beneath their feet. Ronaldo was walking through it with the calm confidence he always carried, his mind focused, his body ready, his heartbeat aligned with the rhythm of the match he was about to play. But then it happened, something so small, so fragile, so out of place that even Ronaldo himself questioned whether he had imagined it. A trembling, broken cry. A cry that didn't belong in a stadium, a cry too soft to be heard inside such a storm. And yet, somehow, it pierced straight through him. Ronaldo felt it more than he heard it. And when he turned, when he followed that sound, what he saw would not only pause the match, it would change the night for everyone who witnessed what happened next. The stadium was alive as if every seat carried a pulse. Flags waved like oceans of color, chants rose in synchronized waves, the lights beamed down on the pitch like a golden spotlight. But just a few meters away from the sideline, behind an advertising banner and pressed against a metal railing, a little boy sat trembling. His face was buried deep into his hands, his shoulders shaking with every breath he struggled to take. He wasn't crying quietly. He was crying the way children cry when the world suddenly feels too big, too cruel, too confusing. People walked past him. Cameras swung over him. The music roared above him. Yet none of it softened the weight he carried alone. And then, somehow, incredibly, that tiny cry cut through the chaos and reached Cristiano Ronaldo, a man who had learned long ago to listen not just with his ears, but with his heart. Ronaldo didn't stop immediately. He took one more step toward the tunnel before his instinct tugged at him, hard. Something was wrong. Something needed him. He paused mid-stride, his boots planted on the turf, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the stadium. The staff walking behind him nearly bumped into him, confused, asking if he had forgotten something in the locker room. But Ronaldo barely heard them. His focus, his senses, his attention, they had shifted entirely. Slowly, he turned his head toward the stands, eyes searching, until they locked onto a small shaking figure curled in the shadows. And in that instant, Ronaldo's expression changed completely. Determination. Concern. Recognition. Because he remembered what it felt like to be young, scared, and invisible. He remembered his own childhood in Madeira, the tears, the moments of fear, the sense of fighting a world much larger than himself. Ronaldo began walking toward the boy. Not jogging. Not rushing. Walking with purpose, cutting through the side of the pitch with a calmness that felt out of place in a pre-match frenzy. People in the front rows noticed first, pointing, confused. Then the commentators saw him veer off course, their voices tightening with surprise, trying to guess what he was doing. The stadium noise began to shift, dissolving from deafening chants into pockets of whispers. Was he injured? Was something wrong? Why was Cristiano Ronaldo approaching the advertising boards like this, just minutes before kickoff. Ronaldo lifted a hand gently toward the security team who tried to intervene, a signal that not only stopped them but froze the entire atmosphere. Cameras zoomed in. Fans leaned forward. The whole stadium, tens of thousands of people, became witnesses to a moment none of them expected. When Ronaldo reached the corner where the boy sat, he didn't hesitate. He lowered himself onto one knee, his captain's armband glistening under the floodlights, his eyes soft with concern. The image was powerful, a global icon kneeling before a child who had been invisible just seconds earlier. The boy looked up, startled, his face tear-streaked, cheeks red from crying, eyes full of fear and confusion. Ronaldo spoke in a tone almost nobody ever heard from him. Gentle, warm, patient. "Hey, buddy. What's wrong?" The boy's lips trembled. He tried to speak but only managed broken breaths. Ronaldo reached out, lightly touching the boy's arm, grounding him, bringing him back from the place of panic he was drowning in. No roar of the stadium mattered. No cameras mattered. In that moment, only this kid mattered. After a few deep breaths, the boy finally found his voice. Between sobs, he explained that he had come with his mother, the person who promised him they'd share their first ever match together. She had worked overtime for months to afford the ticket, but when he arrived, she had been taken aside by security for an ID issue and hadn't returned. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then another. The boy had tried calling her, but her phone wasn't connecting. And suddenly, surrounded by thousands, he felt unbearably alone. Ronaldo listened with full attention, and the story punched him with a force he didn't expect. Memories flooded him, his mother working tirelessly, him waiting for her, feeling lost, misunderstood, forgotten. He had lived that fear. And now he saw it mirrored in the eyes of a child who had hoped tonight would be the happiest night of his life. Most players would have patted the kid on the head and walked away. But Ronaldo didn't move. Instead, he placed both hands gently on the boy's shoulders and said in a firm, reassuring voice, "I'm right here. And I'm not leaving until we find her." The boy's eyes widened, almost disbelieving. This was Cristiano Ronaldo. The man with a stadium waiting. The man with a global audience watching. Yet he stayed. Ronaldo called over a staff member and instructed him to search every gate, every entrance, every booth, to find the missing mother no matter what. He even gave the boy his own warm-up jacket to keep him from shivering. Cameras caught it, and the world watched in quiet awe as Ronaldo placed compassion above glory. Within minutes, dozens of staff members were moving through the stadium, communicating through radios, scanning crowds, checking entrances. Fans began whispering, spreading the story across entire sections. Commentators got word of what was happening and shifted their tone from confusion to emotional disbelief. The match was practically postponed. And through all of it, Ronaldo sat next to the boy on the edge of the pitch, speaking softly, telling him stories from his own childhood. How he felt lost too when he left Madeira as a kid, how he cried alone sometimes, how he had moments where he felt like the world was too big for him. The boy listened, slowly calming, slowly breathing normally again. Ronaldo wasn't just comforting him, he was healing him. Just when it felt like hope was starting to fade, a desperate voice echoed from the far side of the stands. A woman shouting the boy's name, her voice breaking, frantic, terrified. The boy's head snapped up instantly. Ronaldo stood. They both looked toward the source of the voice. And there she was, the mother, weaving through the crowd, pushing past people, tears streaming down her face as she called for her son. The moment the boy saw her, he ran. Faster than he had ever run in his entire life. She dropped to her knees, pulling him into her arms, crying into his hair, apologizing over and over. She hadn't abandoned him. She had been held up by security and kept away longer than she expected. Ronaldo watched them reunite, a soft, relieved smile spreading across his face. When the mother looked up and saw Ronaldo standing there, she froze, overwhelmed, emotional, speechless. She tried to thank him, but her voice couldn't form the words. Ronaldo simply shook his head, smiled, and did something no one saw coming. He removed the captain's armband from his own arm, the symbol of leadership, responsibility, and pride, and tied it gently around the little boy's wrist. "Tonight," he said, "you're the captain. Be strong for your mom." She raised a brave kid. The boy smiled for the first time that night. The mother cried again. The stadium, witnessing the entire scene on the big screen, erupted in applause, not the loud, wild kind, but the emotional, heartfelt kind that people remember for years. When Ronaldo finally stepped onto the field, the atmosphere felt transformed. The cheers weren't just admiration, they were respect. He played the match with a fire that came from someplace deeper than competition. And when he scored a stunning goal just before halftime, he didn't celebrate the way he normally did. He pointed straight toward the stands, toward the boy who now wore his armband. Toward the mother who held him close. Toward the moment that reminded him, and the world, that football isn't just about goals, trophies, and fame. It's about humanity, compassion, and remembering that even in the biggest stadiums, surrounded by the biggest crowds, one small, trembling child can still change the heart of a legend.